Welcome back to another episode of What If Naruto Had a Big Brother? In this alternate Naruto universe, one small twist changes everything. What if Naruto wasn't alone? What if he grew up with someone stronger, smarter, and born to rewrite destiny itself? Today, we dive deeper into the story of Kaito Uzumaki, Naruto's powerful older brother whose existence shakes the entire Shinobi world. New alliances form, new enemies rise, and the future of Konoha may never be the same again. So sit back, relax, and get ready, because this episode is about to change everything. A breath before the storm ***. As Hiruzen and Biwako prepared to leave the Namikaze household, an uneasy silence lingered between the remaining members of the family. Kaito stood rigid, his heart pounding, not out of fear, but out of the gravity of what was coming. Tomorrow, the night of the Nine Tails incident. Except this time, it wouldn't go the same way. Kaito would change it. He had to. When the door finally closed behind the third Hokage and Biwako, the tension in the room eased slightly, but not enough to quell the anxiety in Kushina's eyes. She placed a hand on her swollen belly, the faint glow of the sealing formula pulsing underneath her skin with every heartbeat. "Kaito-kun," she whispered. "Are you sure about coming tomorrow? It might get dangerous." He didn't hesitate. "I'm not leaving your side," he said firmly. "Not now. Not ever." For a moment, Kushina froze, her heart warmed by his determination. She gathered him in a gentle embrace, burying her face in his hair. "Thank you, Musuko, you always make mommy strong, you know." Kaito hugged her back tightly, feeling the warmth of her chakra, remembering painfully how the original story had stolen this warmth from Naruto. "Not this time," he vowed silently. Minato placed a hand on both of their shoulders, his expression soft but resolute. "Kaito, once tomorrow starts, things might move quickly. If anything feels wrong, stay close to me. Understood?" Kaito nodded. This time he would be watching Minato's back. Later that evening, when Kushina had settled into bed, Minato walked out to the backyard, placing a hand on the wooden railing. The moonlight washed over him, golden hair shimmering like a beacon against the night. He didn't turn around when he sensed Kaito at the doorway. "You're awake," Minato said quietly. Kaito stepped out, joining his father under the moonlit sky. Minato's voice lowered. "Kaito, the dream you had. I've thought about it a lot." Kaito forced himself to look confused and scared, two emotions he didn't need to pretend much. Minato crouched down, placing a hand on Kaito's cheek. "In war, shinobi sometimes develop instincts or foresight. We call it battle sense. But you," Minato smiled gently, "you're too young to have that." Kaito swallowed. Minato wasn't accusing him. But he was noticing. Minato leaned in. "Your dream," described a masked man with a space-time ninjutsu. "Someone intangible. Someone dangerous." His eyes sharpened. "There is only one person I know with that kind of potential." Kaito's breath caught. Minato had begun connecting the dots. "Oh, Obito." Minato finished quietly. Kaito didn't speak. He didn't need to. His widened eyes said enough. Minato exhaled sharply, the gravity settling over him like a suffocating cloud. "I pray it isn't true," he whispered. "But tomorrow, we will be ready for anything." He rested a hand on Kaito's head. "No matter what happens, Kaito, always remember, your mother and I won't leave you. We will never abandon you." Kaito bit back tears. This time, it wouldn't be a lie. The day destiny trembled ***. The sun had barely risen when Minato returned home fully prepared. He wore a black battlesuit beneath his white Hokage cloak, the one with red flames licking the bottom edges. He looked ready for war. Kushina, despite her swollen stomach and weakened seal, radiated a calm, maternal strength that quieted even heaviest storms. "Are you ready, Kaito-kun?" she asked gently. Kaito nodded. More ready than anyone. Minato sealed the house with protective formulas, then knelt beside Kaito. "I'll transport us all at once," he explained. "Stay close." Kaito slipped his hand into his father's. Kushina took Minato's other hand. Minato inhaled deeply. Flying Thunder God, transmission. A golden flash consumed them. They arrived at the secure cave, dense with sealing formulas etched into every wall. ANBU stationed nearby bowed instantly. Lord Fourth. Lady Kushina. Inside, Biwako was already preparing the space with professional precision. But Kaito felt it immediately. Something was wrong. His sharp senses, heightened by months of training, prickled with distant chakra fluctuations. Something dark. Something familiar. Something twisted. His close. Obito. Kaito's small hand clenched tightly. His heartbeat quickened, but his gaze stayed steady. Minato noticed the shift. He knelt, whispering, "Stay behind me. And if anything happens, protect your mother first." Kaito nodded sharply. Far from the cave, perched on a tall tree overlooking the restricted zone, a masked figure hovered in the cold morning air. A swirling orange mask. A single glowing Sharingan. Obito watched the ANBU patrols move below in predictable patterns. "Oh, so they increased security this time," he muttered. The Sharingan spun slowly. "No matter. Kushina. Minato. Today, I will break this world." A distorted chuckle echoed behind the mask. "And this time, there will be no mistakes." He vanished into a ripple of space-time. Biwako checked Kushina's pulse. Taji prepared the sealing papers. Minato placed defensive kunai around the cave walls. Kaito stood near Kushina, clutching her hand, silently praying the plan would work. Kushina squeezed it warmly. "You're so brave, Kaito-kun. Mommy is proud of you, why no?" Kaito swallowed hard, forcing a smile. Then, bam! A crack rippled through the barrier. Minato snapped his head toward the entrance. The ANBU outside shouted, "Intrude!" And suddenly, silence. Not a scream. Not a struggle. Just a silence so heavy it suffocated the air. Minato's eyes widened. "Kushina, Kaito, stay close." Kaito stepped in front of Kushina. He knew what came next. A slow, distorted voice echoed through the cave. "Congratulations, Fourth Hokage." Then, a masked man appeared inside the barrier. Amid falling ANBU bodies, holding an infant-sized white blanket in one arm, and in the other, a kunai. Kaito's blood froze. Their plan had begun. But this time, this story would not follow canon. This time, Kaito was there. The moment Kaito's feet touched the cold stone floor after his backward leap, the entire chamber seemed to fall into a suffocating silence. The only sounds were the lingering hum of the barrier and Kushina's ragged breaths. Minato's eyes went wide. Biwako stood frozen, clutching Naruto tightly to her chest. Even the ANBU who'd been guarding Kushina were momentarily stunned. A 5-year-old had intercepted the masked man and stopped the hostage situation before it even began. The masked man's single Sharingan eye focused entirely on Kaito now, its red glow intensifying behind the spiral mask as he studied the boy with unsettling calm. "Oh, interesting," he murmured, voice low and distorted. "That wasn't supposed to happen." Kaito felt beads of sweat trail down his neck. His arms trembled slightly from the shock of the earlier clash. But he didn't lower his kunai. He didn't blink. And he didn't take a single step back. Minato quickly placed himself between Obito and Kushina, positioning his body as a shield while keeping Biwako and Naruto behind him. "Stay back," Minato warned Kaito, voice razor-sharp. But Kaito remained firm, tightening his grip. "I'm not leaving Mom's side." Hearing this, Kushina's exhausted eyes widened. Even in her weakened state, her heart swelled with both fear and pride. "Kaito," she whispered. The masked man tilted his head slightly, examining Kaito like an anomaly. "You're strong, for a child," he commented, almost amused. "Fast enough to hinder me. A surprise." His Sharingan narrowed. "And surprises irritate me." In an instant, Obito flicked his wrist. Black metal chains burst forth, soaring toward Kaito with murderous intent. Their speed far surpassing anything a normal shinobi could dodge. Minato moved. But Kaito moved faster. A swirl of air erupted beneath the boy's feet as he activated his smokeless shunshin. His image blurred instantaneously, leaving behind only the faintest distortion as the chains cut through empty space. Biwako gasped. Even Taji the ANBU widened his eyes behind his mask. In the next heartbeat, Kaito reappeared behind Minato, kunai ready, breathing steady but intense. He's even faster than before, Minato realized, shock rippling through him. The masked man stared, now undeniably intrigued. That technique. That movement. I see. His voice dropped into a more sinister tone. You've created something quite dangerous for your age. Obito vanished. A black swirl enveloped his form as he reappeared on Kaito's right, his kunai reaching for the boy's ribs. But his blade met Minato's kunai instead. In a flash of yellow, Minato had teleported in front of Kaito, pushing him backward with one arm while clashing with Obito mid-air. You want my son, Minato said coldly. You'll have to go through me first. Kaito stumbled slightly but regained his footing, fury burning in his eyes. You think I'm letting you anywhere near them? Kaito muttered under his breath, eyes locked on the masked man. Obito stepped back as his Kamui activated again, his body partially warping like smoke. No wonder my original plan failed, he mused. You exist. A variable the original timeline didn't have. Minato tensed. Kushina froze. Biwako looked utterly confused. Kaito's heart stopped. He knows. He knew the world wasn't as it was supposed to be. Obito pointed his kunai at Kaito, voice dripping with malice. So the question is, what else have you changed, boy? Minato's chakra flared violently, the air around him crackling. You won't touch him, Minato growled. But Obito ignored him entirely, addressing the boy instead. You warned them, didn't you? That dream you spoke of, it wasn't a dream. Kaito's breath hitched. Obito's Sharingan spun faster and faster. It was knowledge. Minato's eyes widened as realization dawned on him. Kaito opened his mouth, but no words came out. The masked man chuckled, a deep, distorted sound that filled the cavern like poison. I see it now. Someone tampered with fate, and brought you here. He leaned forward, Sharingan glowing inches from Minato's flickering kunai. You're not supposed to exist, Kaito Uzumaki. Minato's killing intent exploded. But Obito continued calmly, almost mockingly. And that makes you the most dangerous person in this room. Kaito clenched his fists, fear colliding with a surge of burning resolve. I won't let you hurt my family. The masked man raised his arm. Let's fix this anomaly. But before Obito could finish, Minato vanished with a thunderous crack of lightning. And the fight truly began, shaking the chamber with raw power. The world around Kaito dimmed into a blur, stone, shadows, and blood mixing into one wavering haze. His heartbeat thudded loudly in his ears, each breath becoming shallow and ragged. Pain pulsed through his hand, crushed beyond recognition, and radiated across his skull where it had slammed into the wall. But none of that mattered. Not the agony. Not the dizziness. Not the trembling in his limbs. All he could think, all he could whisper, was, Oka-chan. His fading gaze remained fixed on the masked man who had just disappeared with Kushina, his mother, into that swirling distortion. The same man who now stood over Kaito, casting a long, ominous shadow that seemed to swallow the flickering torchlight whole. Obito's single Sharingan bore into Kaito with cold calculation. That technique of yours, he murmured, crouching slightly as if examining an insect. I thought, for a moment, you had Kamui. Kaito could barely process the words, his consciousness slipping like sand through his fingers. But it wasn't Kamui. It was something else, something you created. The masked man tilted his head slightly. Interesting. Dangerous. The last word stung, not because of the threat behind it, but because it meant Obito truly saw him as a threat. Even now, even like this, a spark of pride flickered inside Kaito. Brief, weak, but real. The masked man stood upright, his cloak rustling faintly. Rest, boy. You've done enough damage to my plans for one night. He raised his hand. But just before he could finish Kaito off, a shimmer of golden chakra erupted behind him. And in a flash of yellow, Minato arrived. Minato materialized beside Kaito like a bolt of lightning striking earth, silent, furious, lethal. His eyes widened as they landed on his son's limp form, blood trailing down his forehead, hand twisted unnaturally, chest barely rising. Kaito. Minato's voice cracked, something it had never done, not even in war. His breath hitched. His hands trembled for a fraction of a second. Something inside him broke. The man known as Konoha's yellow flash was gone. In his place stood a father whose child had been hurt. Obito stepped back slightly, the sudden burst of Minato's killing intent washing through the room like a shockwave. You're too late," the masked man taunted, though Minato could hear the slight tension beneath the mask. "Your wife is already in my dimension, and the seal restraining the Nine Tails is unraveling as we speak." Minato's gaze snapped to the distortions lingering in the air from Obito's teleportation. Then back to Kaito. Kaito's small body lay in a crumpled heap. Blood pooled beneath his palm. His breathing was shallow. His eyes fluttered weakly. A rage Minato had never known boiled inside him, cold, controlled, terrifying. "You," Minato breathed, voice low and trembling with fury. "You touched my son." The masked man's Sharingan focused sharply. "Your anger is pointless." But Minato vanished. A golden flash tore through the room. Before Obito could finish his sentence, Minato's fist crashed into his mask with enough force to send the masked man flying across the chamber, his body smashing into the stone pillar with a thunderous crack. Obito staggered, but quickly activated his intangibility, too late to avoid the hit, but just in time to avoid the follow-up. Minato reappeared next to Kaito, hovering protectively, kunai ready. Obito pulled himself out of the rubble, the spiral mask cracked slightly from the strike. His Sharingan fixed on Minato. "So you finally choose to fight?" Minato didn't respond. His aura alone said everything. He would kill for his son. He would tear apart space itself for his wife. He would burn the world to save them. And Obito felt it. For the first time that night. The masked man took a cautious step back. Kaito lay there, vision slipping in and out like a broken lantern flame. He could faintly make out Minato's glowing silhouette, chakra flaring like a miniature sun. He tried to move. His fingers twitched uselessly. He tried to speak. Only air escaped his lips. But inside he was screaming, "Dad, go save her. Please, save her. Save Ka-chan." The thought burned through him like fire. Minato knelt beside Kaito just long enough to place a glowing seal on his son's forehead, a medical marking to stabilize his vitals. "You did well, Kaito," Minato whispered, voice trembling with love and pride. "I'll take it from here." Then, gently, almost reverently, he laid Kaito on the ground. He rose slowly, deliberately, every muscle coiled with lethal intent. The masked man readied himself. And without another word, Minato vanished. The yellow flash streaked across the chamber, golden light flaring like a second sunrise. Obito activated Kamui. Minato threw a kunai. Obito phased. Minato teleported. Obito countered. Minato was behind him. The battle thundered through the chamber at speeds most shinobi could never comprehend. Stone shattered. Air distorted. Chakra crackled through the room in waves. And Kaito faded into darkness, his last sight being his father clashing against the masked man with divine ferocity. His final thought, "I'm counting on you, Chusan." And then his world slipped away. The moment Minato vanished in that familiar swirl of golden light, the small, dimly lit safe house fell silent, almost eerily so. Only the faint rustle of Kushina's strained breathing and the soft, uneven rhythm of Naruto's tiny exhales filled the room. Kushina tightened her trembling arms around her children. Though her body felt impossibly heavy, drained, hollow, fragile, she held Kaito and Naruto as though they were her lifelines. Tears clung to her lashes, her vision blurring as she looked at them. "Kaito. Naruto," she whispered, her voice breaking. "Stay with me, okay? Mommy's right here." Kaito remained unconscious beside her, his head resting in her lap. Even through her exhaustion, Kushina's heart twisted painfully as she took in the state of her eldest son. His wrist, bent unnaturally. His forehead, bruised and blooded. His little body, limp, fragile, struggling. "Kaito-kun," she cried softly, brushing his red hair with weak fingertips. "You were so brave, too brave, why no?" Her voice wavered, tears spilling freely now. Despite the brief celebrations that followed Minato's legendary triumph against the Hidden Stone, the village was still caught in the grinding gears of the Third Great Shinobi War. But for me, every passing day felt like watching a timer countdown. A countdown to the night my parents were destined to die. The ceasefire with the Hidden Stone brought a measure of relief, but also political turmoil. Hiruzen's refusal to demand reparations enraged many in the upper ranks. Obito spun, Sharingan blazing, barely phasing in time as Minato's strike passed through him. "So," Obito drawled, "you came alone, without your wife to anchor you." Minato's jaw clenched. "You've done enough tonight." The masked man's single red eye narrowed. "Kaito interfered more than I expected, but it changes nothing." Minato's blood ran cold. "You touched my son," he whispered, his voice quiet, yet colder than steel. The killing intent pouring off him shook the very air. Obito tilted his head. "And I'll do worse if you stand in my..." Minato vanished. The masked man barely had a second to react. But Minato's Rasengan slammed into him mid-phase transition, catching him at the precise moment between tangible and intangible. The impact sent Obito crashing through a boulder, mask cracking even further. He staggered, coughing. "TCH, troublesome Hokage." Minato didn't give him time to recover. Flying Raijin, level 2. A golden flash. A kunai whistling through the air. A teleportation. A violent clash. A gasp. A tearing sound. Minato severed the control over the Ninetails. The genjutsu shattered. Obito recoiled in shock as the massive beast roared, its eyes clearing momentarily. Before Obito could reassert control, Minato hurled another kunai. Straight through the Kamui portal. Marking the edge of Obito's personal dimension. Obito's eye widened. He marked. Kamui. Minato glared, jaw set. "This ends. Now." Realizing he had lost the advantage, Obito melted into his vortex and vanished, nursing his cracked mask and shattered pride. But his words echoed in the air even after he disappeared. "This isn't over, Minato. Not by a long shot." Minato didn't waste a breath. He turned toward the rampaging Ninetails, a beast now freed from Obito, but enraged and unstable. Konoha needed him. Now. Immediately. Kushina wiped the tears from her cheeks with shaking hands. Her vision blurred again as she glanced down at Naruto, peacefully oblivious to the world's chaos, and Kaito, her fierce, stubborn boy, who had fought far beyond what any child should. After a while, Minato guided me to the center of the field. "Okay, Kaito. I want to observe your running speed and endurance." I nodded eagerly. This was the part one was waiting for: speed. Movement. The path toward being like Minato, Shisui, A. Kushina clapped from the side. "Go Kaito. Let's see you zoom." I sprinted with all my little legs could muster. To an adult, I must have looked like a hyper-toddler running awkwardly in the grass. But Minato's face remained deeply focused, analyzing every step, every shift in balance, every twitch of effort. A thunderous roar split the night sky. The Ninetails burst into the village center, fur bristling, tails thrashing, eyes burning with untamed fury. Buildings crumbled beneath its claws. Entire streets were swallowed in its chakra. Villagers screamed. Shinobi raced to defend. Explosions lit up the night. And overhead, Minato, in full Hokage form, appeared in a streak of yellow lightning. He summoned a massive toad on the Hokage monument. Gamabunta bellowed, "Minato, you ready?" Minato's expression darkened. "Konoha will not fall tonight." Minato, cloaked in his Hokage mantle, his expression etched with unwavering resolve, nodded solemnly. "I'll be right back," he promised, voice steady despite the chaos tearing at his heart. With one final look, a look heavy with love, fear, and determination, Minato activated the flying Raijin. In a flare of golden light, he vanished, leaving behind a swirl of displaced air and the faint echo of a man racing against fate itself. Kushina tightened her trembling arms around her sons, one sleeping, one still unconscious, and fought back the storm of emotions ravaging her heart. Fear, exhaustion, pain, but above all, hope. Hope that Minato would return. Hope that her children would live to see tomorrow. She pressed her forehead gently against Kaito's, whispering shakily, "Stay with me, Kaito-kun. Naruto, please stay with me." Even as the world outside crumbled, her embrace remained warm, soft, fiercely protective, the last sanctuary she could offer. The Hidden Leaf Village glowed under the moonlight, bustling with nighttime life. Lanterns lit the market streets, vendors offered snacks, laughter carried through the air. Amidst it all walked two familiar figures. "Why don't we just do rock, paper, scissors again tonight?" Kakashi asked casually, hands tucked in his pockets. "No." Guy shouted dramatically, recoiling as if insulted. "Think of something more youthful." For Team Minato, this was a routine start to the day, but for me, it was the opening page of my true ninja journey. Minato moved forward with the natural authority of a seasoned jonin sensei. "All right, everyone," he began. "We'll start with warm-ups. Kakashi, Rin, go through your drills. Obito, you join them." Rin smiled politely. Kakashi gave a silent nod. Obito grinned with a confident, slightly goofy enthusiasm. As they scattered into position, Minato crouched beside me, lowering himself to my height. "Kaito," he said softly, "we'll train separately for now. When they finish, you'll join us for the spar." My heart thumped. A spar. With Team Minato. It was both exciting and terrifying. Kakashi immediately took the lead for warm-ups. Endless visits from clans and departments. Letters from allied villages. Even the Uzumaki clan remnants scattered across the world sent blessings, something Kushina read with a bittersweet smile. Minato was busier than ever. Far busier than when he was leading missions. Meetings with the village council. Strategy discussions for ending the war with Cloud. Negotiations with Sand. ANBU assignments. Administrative reforms. It was ironic, Minato, the fastest shinobi alive, now moved slowest through his own home, exhausted from paperwork and meetings. Yet no matter how busy he was, he always made time for us. In the heart of Konoha, the air twisted unnaturally. A swirling vortex tore open space itself. From it stepped the masked man. He raised his left hand, summoning jutsu. A thunderous plume of smoke exploded outward. Shockwaves rippled through the district. Civilians stumbled back, startled, confused. As the smoke cleared, the nine-tailed fox stood revealed. Monstrous. Terrifying. Eyes blazing with malice. A scream tore through the night. Panic erupted instantly. Nine tails. Run. The masked man stood atop its head, his voice booming with malice. Go, Nine Tails. With a roar that shook the very bones of the village, the bijou charged. Buildings crumpled like paper beneath swipes of its tails. Flames burst across rooftops. The better you sense them, the easier it will be to control your chakra later. Kushina had taught me this in theory, but Minato's guiding chakra made it feel real, tangible. Next came physical drills. Minato had me run laps around the training ground, climb low branches, jump between stumps, and dodge padded strikes. It was basic, but it was more intense than anything I had done before. By the time I finished my third lap, Sweat rolled down my forehead. "You're doing great," Minato encouraged. "Let's take a small break." I nodded, chest rising and falling quickly, but determination burning equally bright. Because I wasn't just running, I was building the foundation for the future I desperately needed to change. Kakashi nodded. "Let's go." Shikaku Nara barked orders with perfect calm amidst hellfire. "Evacuate the civilians. Ino Shikacho, support the front line." Explosive tags erupted across the Ninetales' body. They slowed it, barely. But barely was enough. High atop the Hokage monument, bathed in moonlight, Minato stood alone, staring down at the destruction. His jaw clenched. "As Hokage, I will protect this village. I will protect my family." The Ninetales turned its hateful gaze toward him. The world froze for a heartbeat. Then it opened its maw, chakra swirling violently, condensing. "A tailed beast bomb," Minato muttered. He flashed through hand seals. "You won't get your way here." The bomb launched, a sphere of annihilation. Minato slammed both palms forward. A massive space airtime seal spread like a net. The bijou bomb vanished. A massive explosion lit the night sky, safely outside the village. Minato sensed him instantly. He spun. And his kunai passed straight through the masked man. The masked man grabbed Minato's wrist. "I'm your opponent. And it's over." A vortex dragged Minato's body toward it. But Minato vanished in a bright flare. The masked man clicked his tongue. He teleported away. "Next time, I'll catch him the instant I touch him." Minato's words struck like a hammer blow, final and absolute. The seal burned bright against the masked man's chest, its tendrils of chakra severing the last thread of connection he held to the Ninetales. A violent surge of energy erupted from the masked man's body as the contract snapped, like a rope pulled too tight suddenly cut loose. The masked man staggered back, clutching the gaping hole in his torso where Minato's kunai had pierced him, blood pouring through his gloved fingers. For the first time in the entire battle, his composure slipped, his breathing ragged, his remaining eye trembling with raw fury. "Damn you, Namikaze Minato," he hissed, each word strained. But before Minato could follow up, the masked man's body began to warp and distort, the gravitational pull of his own jutsu spiraling around him. A swirling vortex bloomed at his feet, dragging him toward its center like a collapsing star. "TCH, next time," he growled, glaring at Minato with murderous intent as his body was slowly swallowed by the spiraling void. "I'll make sure everything goes according to plan." With a final, hateful glare, he vanished entirely, pulled into the dark dimension of his own making. Minato didn't pursue. He couldn't. The moment the masked man disappeared, a flood of urgent thoughts collided in his head. Kushina weakened, the Ninetales unleashed, the village torn apart, and Kaito, unconscious and wounded. There was no time to waste. Minato's hands flew into position. In a flash of yellow light, he disappeared. The battlefield changed instantly, the burning rooftops of Konoha coming into view, the air thick with smoke, ash, and the rumbling rage of the Ninetales. The beast stood in the center of the village, its massive tails whipping like thunderbolts, flattening everything in their path. A guttural roar tore from its maw, shaking the entire village to its core. Minato appeared atop a ruined rooftop, his breath catching for a moment as he took in the sight. Homes crushed, flames licking the horizon, shinobi scattered like insects against the overwhelming force of the tailed beast. He clenched his fists, jaw tight. "I have to end this, now." High above on a cratered rooftop, Hiruzen Sarutobi leapt backward as the Ninetales' claws crashed down where he had stood moments before. Even with all his years of experience, even with Enma, the adamantine staff, summoned at his side, the sheer power of the beast forced him on the defensive. "Damn it. Minato, hurry," he muttered under his breath. As if answering his call, a streak of yellow light tore through the battlefield. Minato appeared right at Hiruzen's side. "Lord Third." Minato called out, landing beside him. Hiruzen's eyes widened with a mixture of relief and urgency. "Minato. The Ninetales, this is your battle now." "I know." Minato's voice was cold, sharp with determination. "And I'll stop it, by any means necessary." The Ninetales swung its massive tail toward them. Minato grabbed Hiruzen by the arm and teleported them both away just before the crushing weight obliterated the rooftop. They reappeared atop the Hokage monument, the stone faces illuminated by the fires consuming the village below. "Lord Third," Minato said, urgency dripping from every word, "please take command of the village defenses. Evacuate the civilians, suppress the fires, and keep casualties minimal." Hiruzen nodded, seeing the fire in Minato's eyes. "And you?" "I'm ending this," Minato said, lifting a marked kunai. Another thunderous roar shook the earth as the Ninetales began gathering chakra, forming another tailed beast bomb. Minato narrowed his eyes. "I'll stop him here. No matter what." Hiruzen gave him a long, searching look, the look only a mentor could give his successor. Then he steeled his expression. "Very well. Hokage. Do what only you can do." Minato vanished. At the same moment, deep within the safe house, Kushina clung weakly to Naruto with one arm, her other arm curled protectively around Kaito's limp body. Her breaths were shallow, but her eyes were fierce, unwilling to surrender. "Kaito. Naruto," she whispered, pulling them close. "Stay safe. Your father. He'll come back. He always does." Her vision blurred at the edges, exhaustion taking its toll. But she refused to close her eyes. Not yet. Not until she knew Minato had returned. A tremor shook the earth. Dust cascaded from the ceiling. Naruto whimpered softly. Kaito lay still, unconscious, his hand bandaged hastily with cloth to stabilize the crushed wrist Minato had treated before he left. Kushina tightened her hold. "Minato," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Please, come back to us." Minato appeared on top of the Ninetales' head. The beast roared in fury, chakra swirling violently around its jaws. Minato pressed his palm against the creature's skull. Contract seal. A massive seal matrix erupted beneath him, chaining the Ninetales' form with brilliant tendrils of chakra. The rampaging beast staggered, its roar breaking into a howl as the masked man's control finally dissolved completely. The crimson beast thrashed wildly, but now it wasn't being controlled. Now it was pure rage. And pure power. Minato immediately teleported away as one of the massive tails swung toward him, smashing through a dozen buildings at once. "Just move." I took a deep breath. My body tensed with anticipation. "Ready." "Hi." The first pebble flew toward me. I dodged easily. Then another. And another. They gradually became faster. Sharper. Higher. Soon, Minato's arm blurred. He wasn't throwing pebbles anymore. He was throwing precision tests. "Good," he murmured. "Your eyes are following well." I pivoted left, then ducked right, flipping over a low pebble that zipped just inches above the ground. My heart pounded with excitement. "This is fun," I exclaimed between breaths. Minato chuckled. "You sound just like Kushina." The speed increased again. Rin gasped from behind. Kakashi's visible eye sharpened in interest. Even Obito stopped mid-complaint to stare. "Don't you dare make Naruto carry this burden alone. Don't you dare leave our boys without their father." Minato paused mid-gesture, the spectral Shinigami looming behind him like a giant shadow only he could see. Its hollow eyes glowed, its claws already reaching to claim its sacrifice. Even Kushina, drained and barely conscious, could feel the suffocating pressure of death crowding around Minato. He looked at her, really looked at her, and for a moment, the facade of the Hokage slipped away. He was just Minato. Her Minato. A husband. A father. A man torn between duty and love. "Kushina," he whispered, his voice breaking for the first time. "If I don't, the village falls. And if the village falls, our children, they fall with it." Tears streamed down Kushina's cheeks, hot against her cooling skin. "But Minato, can't we find another way? Why must you be the one to die?" Minato knelt before her, gently brushing a strand of red hair away from her tear-streaked face. "Because," he said softly, "if someone must pay the price, it should be me." Outside the barrier, Hiruzen slammed his fists against the dome again, desperation twisting his features. "Minato. Kushina. Stop. Don't do this," he shouted hoarsely. But the barrier, woven from Kushina's dying chakra, didn't budge an inch. Its fiery edges only flared brighter with each attempt. Minato's eyes widened. "Kaito, your chakra coils are waking on their own." I swallowed. Slowly, Minato's expression shifted from surprise to understanding, to pride, to something like awe. "Kaito," he said softly, "I think it's time." He lifted his hand, hovering over my core. "You've proven your body is ready." I could barely breathe. "Kaito Uzumaki. Today." His hand glowed faintly with guiding chakra. "You will awaken your chakra." Lunch with Minato's team was lively and warm. Kushina had brought a large picnic basket filled with rice balls, fried fish, and her special miso soup, the kind that instantly restored energy and spirit. He stood, facing the towering Ninetails thrashing against her chains, its eyes burning with primal hatred. The spectral Shinigami behind him raised its arms slowly, sensing the nearing sacrifice. "I'm sorry, Kushina," Minato whispered without turning back. "But our children, they deserve tomorrow." Summoning every last ounce of chakra left within him, Minato's hands flashed through the final sequence of the dead demon consuming seal. Behind him, the Shinigami opened its skeletal jaws. Kushina screamed, the sound raw and broken. "Minato!" But her voice could not reach him in time. The Shinigami plunged its hand forward, straight into Minato's chest. The world seemed to hold its breath. Minato's body jerked, but he didn't collapse. Instead, he lowered himself to one knee, directing the spiritual energy of the Shinigami into the massive, writhing form of the Ninetails. The beast roared, the ground trembling beneath its rage as half of its chakra was forcibly torn away, coiling like streams of red flame into the Shinigami's grasp. Kushina cried uncontrollably, her head bowed, her shoulders shaking. "Minato! Minato, please, don't." But Minato was eerily calm. His breathing shallow. His body pale. The Shinigami's hand remained embedded in his soul. "There," he whispered, looking at Kushina with fading eyes. "Half of its power, for you." Kushina gasped. A seal glowed faintly on her abdomen as the gathered chakra was drawn into her. She winced but did not collapse. Minato had aimed to save her life, and he succeeded. Tears streamed down her face as she looked at him, her husband, her partner, the man she loved, now kneeling weakly before the Shinigami, his time slipping away grain by grain. But Minato wasn't done. Minato, from a distance, watched them with a fond expression, his arms crossed. "I never get tired of seeing that," he murmured to himself. A mother passing her fire to her child. Once lunch was done, Minato stood and clapped his hands. "Team Minato. Let's resume the sparring rotation." Rin stretched. Kakashi rolled his shoulders. Obito fired himself up with a dramatic pose. Kaito sat beside Kushina, watching with wide eyes as Minato sparred them one at a time. He moved with grace and precision, always fast, always calculated, and always holding back enough to avoid hurting them. Kakashi countered with smart angles and traps, Rin supported with medical chakra bursts, and Obito rushed in with explosive enthusiasm. Kushina's instincts ignited. Chains burst from her back, dragging her across the ground toward her children even as her body failed her. She threw her own body over Naruto and Kaito, shielding them with everything she had left. "Not my children." The colossal claw descended. Minato saw it. He reacted without hesitation. He threw himself over all three, Kushina, Naruto, and Kaito, taking the full brunt of the Ninetails' blow. Blood sprayed across the ground. Kushina's scream tore the night apart. "Minato." Minato coughed, crimson spilling from his lips. "Kushina," he whispered weakly, his eyes barely open. "This time, I finally protected our family." Her trembling hands cupped his face. Minato. Minato, don't you dare leave me. But Minato managed a faint smile. Tell Kaito. I'm proud of him. His hand shakily touched baby Naruto's cheek. And Naruto, tell him. I love him. His final breath escaped him like a quiet sigh. The Shinigami closed its jaws. And Minato Namikaze, the fourth Hokage. The yellow flash of the leaf. The man who saved his family and village. Went still. Kushina broke. Her sobs were wordless, raw, and soul-shattering. The Ninetales thrashed helplessly, half-sealed and unable to break free, but Kushina no longer heard anything. She held Minato. She held her sons. She held what remained of her world. She couldn't feel her own life slipping away. Outside the barrier, Hiruzen fell to his knees. Inside, baby Naruto cried. Kaito, still unconscious, twitched. Kushina clung to Minato's still warm hand. The night was silent again. Except for Kushina's broken whisper. Minato, don't go. Meanwhile, Hiruzen, the third Hokage, desperately attempted to breach the barrier. His palms pressed firmly against the shimmering red surface as crackles of chakra sparked beneath his hands. And then, with the faintest swirl of leaves, it vanished. Minato narrowed his eyes. Someone was observing us. Kaito's heart raced. Was it Danzo's route? An ANBU scout? A spy from another village? Or someone, much darker? Kakashi stepped forward. Sensei, should we pursue? Minato shook his head. No. Their chakra masked too quickly. For now, stay alert. Kushina held Kaito a little tighter than usual. But Kaito didn't tremble. Instead, a fire lit inside him. If someone is watching us, it means I'm not the only one preparing for the future. And whatever storm was coming, Kaito Uzumaki would be ready for it. No matter what. Lunch with Kushina was always special. Even when we were perched high on a tree branch, swaying gently in the breeze, she managed to make it feel like home. A mother's warmth could turn any place into comfort, even a battlefield training ground. Below us, Team Minato was in the midst of their bell test. The same test my father had used countless times, but today felt different. Kakashi, now a newly minted jonin, moved with a maturity far beyond his years. His Sharingan I remained covered under the Hitayate for now, but even without it, his movements were sharp and unforgiving. Rin supported with flawless chakra usage, keeping Obito steady, boosting his stamina, and forming perfect teamwork triangles. Minato and Kushina, choosing to sacrifice themselves. Inside the barrier, Minato steadied his breath as he stepped back toward the towering, thrashing form of the Ninetales. Kushina's chakra chains dug into the creature's limbs, glowing violently as they held the beast down, even as her body trembled from the effort. Minato nodded once, quietly, his expression solemn. Behind him, the translucent figure of the Shinigami loomed, cold, ghastly, its skeletal face contorted in an eternal, silent scream. The deity's hand pierced straight through Minato's chest, ripping effortlessly through his Hokage vest, emerging from the front in a grotesque display of spiritual power. Its ghastly arm shot toward the Ninetales with terrifying speed. The Ninetales snarled, recoiling instinctively as it felt its essence being pulled from its massive body. You dare! It roared, its voice shaking the air like thunder. Seal! Minato commanded, his voice strained but unyielding. The Shinigami's hand clamped down on the Ninetales' chakra and wrenched it free. The beast howled in agony as half of its enormous chakra mass was torn from it, dragging the essence straight into Minato's body. A shockwave burst outward, rattling the entire barrier. Minato dropped to one knee, panting heavily. My body, it's going numb. Even I underestimated just how massive this chakra is, he thought, his fingers trembling. Your Chu-chan is amazing, isn't he? I smiled softly. Yeah, he really is. But that admiration held something deeper now. A fear. A responsibility. Because I knew what was coming. Kakashi's Jonin promotion meant only one thing. The Kanobi Bridge mission was close. Close enough to taste the tension in the air. Close enough to feel that eerie shift in the timeline, the calm before Obito's tragedy. My fists tightened reflexively. Kaito, if you want to save them, if you want to save anyone, you need to grow faster. Once Team Minato wrapped up the bell exercise, Minato waved us down to join them. He knew exactly what Minato was doing, and why. Inside, Minato gently laid Naruto down on the ceiling, altar now glowing with the intricate patterns of the 8 trigram seal. The blue lines of chakra vibrated with intensity as Minato adjusted his stance. I'll first seal the remaining half of the 9 tails within Naruto, Minato said, his voice steady despite exhaustion. Then I'll transfer the half that's in me, into you, Kushina. As he turned toward the altar, Kushina suddenly coughed violently, splattering blood against the ground. Minato immediately spun around. Kushina. But the 9 tails saw the opening. Its eyes gleamed with murderous intent. Now! It roared, lifting its massive claw and slamming it down toward the tiny form of baby Naruto. Kaito's mind felt like it was floating in fog. His consciousness wavered in and out like a broken signal. The world around him was muffled. Someone shouting, someone coughing, something roaring. Then a chilling thought stabbed through the haze. Mom. Dad. Naruto. His eyes snapped open. Blurry shapes. Red light. The silhouette of the 9 tails' enormous claw descending toward the altar. And his parents, both of them, jumping in front of it. Time slowed to a crawl. No. Kaito lurched up, every nerve in his body screaming. What did you expect? Obito leaned in toward Kakashi. Is that good or bad? Kakashi sighed. It means he'll surpass you at this rate. What? Rin laughed softly. Kushina guided me to a clear patch in the training ground. All right, Kaito. Let's start with the basics. She produced an ink brush and unrolled a scroll with small, delicate symbols. These are chakra formulas. The backbone of all Fuinjutsu. My eyes widened. The symbols pulsed faintly with chakra even before touching them. They reminded me of complex circuits, elegant, ancient, powerful. Kushina dipped the brush and handed it to me. Try copying this one. She pointed at the simplest symbol, the basic chakra retention formula. I began slowly. I said, this was the father's duty. Kushina's breath was shallow, but she managed a trembling smile. Then all the more, since I'm his mother, she whispered. I'm sorry. The 9 tails writhed as the chains tightened. You miserable brats, it growled. Kushina, Minato said, still forcing himself upright. I'll seal your remaining chakra inside Naruto, so you can meet him again. Kaito's sobbing cut through them. Mom. Dad. Minato and Kushina turned. Their eyes softened instantly. Kushina's voice shook. Kaito-kun, you have my ability. I'm so proud of you, but I'm so sorry we can't stay with you and Naruto. Kaito's chakra. It's growing again. And this time, it feels dangerous. But before anyone could speak, the wind shifted. A chill scraped across the training ground. A silent presence watching them from afar. Hidden. Masked. Cold. The same observer from before. Only this time. They stepped 1 foot closer. Lunch continued peacefully, filled with laughter, teasing, and the warm banter that came with a team who had fought together, struggled together, and grown together. Kushina's cooking had a magical quality. Even Obito, though still sulking, ate like he hadn't eaten in days. Rin chatted excitedly about her medical ninjutsu training. Kakashi quietly analyzed Minato's earlier movements. Obito tried, and failed, to hide the fact that he wanted Kakashi's attention. Minato basked in the familiar comfort of watching his precious students grow. And me? I watched Obito. Really watched him. The boy sitting on the ground, messy hair sticking up everywhere, dirt smudged on his cheeks, eyes full of dreams. That boy felt nothing like the masked man who would one day bring Konoha to its knees. How? How could this boy become that monster? He was whiny, emotional, reckless, kind-hearted, clumsy, but he had heart. So much heart that it overflowed out of him. Yet I knew his fate. I knew what would break him. And that knowledge burned like a kunai lodged in my chest. I have to change his fate. Not just for him. But for Minato. For Kushina. For Naruto. For myself. As the others ate and talked, I stepped aside, pretending to admire the scenery. In truth, I was deep in thought, trying to piece everything together. Obito is still years away from awakening Mangekyo. Rin is still alive. Kakashi has only just become Jonin. And Madara, somewhere out there, waits. The timeline was aligning. The Canopy Bridge mission was coming. Obito's death. Madara's manipulation. The beginning of the masked man. My stomach twisted. I heard footsteps behind me, soft and hesitant. Obito. Hey, he said awkwardly, scratching his cheek. You okay? I blinked, startled. I hadn't expected him. Why yeah. The meeting dragged on deep into the night, the atmosphere thick with unspoken tension. Though the clan heads nodded, accepting the reconstruction plan as necessary, every single one of them felt the shift, a quiet but undeniable fracture forming within the heart of the village. And at the center of that growing divide stood the Uchiha. Fugaku's jaw tightened, eyes darkening with a silent storm. He said nothing more, but every experienced ninja in the room could feel the quiet simmer of resentment filling the air around him. Hiruzen felt it too. The third Hokage slowly exhaled, the subtle tremor in his breath betraying just how precarious this moment was. A forced relocation during a time of tragedy, he thought heavily. This will plant seeds we may regret. But the village needed rebuilding, and grief had already pushed everyone into survival mode. One by one, the clan heads departed the council chamber, leaving Hiruzen and his two advisors behind. Danzo had already slipped away, vanishing into the shadows like a whisper of suspicion. Hiruzen walked to the window, gazing out at the scarred remains of his village. The fires from the Ninetales rampage had long been extinguished, but the charred skeletons of countless homes still stood like tombstones. As night fell and lanterns flickered to life across the village, Kaito stepped outside to fetch water. The moon hung low in the sky, pale and crescent. That's when he sensed it. A soft footstep behind him. Calm. Controlled. Familiar. Kaito turned, and found himself staring straight into a pair of pale lavender-white eyes. Hotaru. The Hyuga heiress stepped out from the shadows, a faint mist of cold air around her. You were being watched, she said simply. Kaito froze. You sensed it too? Hotaru nodded. Something ancient. It brushed against the edge of my Byakugan. It hides beneath the earth. Her hand slowly tightened at her side. Kaito, she whispered, you are being targeted. The words sent a shock through his entire body. What do you mean? Targeted by who? Hotaru shook her head. I do not know. But this presence was not interested in your mother. Not your father. Not the baby. Her white eyes slowly met his. It was watching you. Kaito's heart thundered. Zetsu wasn't just monitoring Kakashi. He wasn't just spying on Kushina. It was him. Kaito Uzumaki. A variable in the timeline. A deviation. Something Madara and Zetsu could not understand or control. Hotaru stepped closer, voice low but unwavering. I will help you. Whatever it is, you will not face it alone. For the first time in a long while, Kaito felt something besides dread. Hope. A new ally. Someone strong. Someone sharp. Someone fearless. He exhaled slowly. Thank you, Hotaru. She nodded once, and disappeared into the darkness as silently as she'd arrived. The moon glowed dimly overhead. The world grew still. And Kaito understood something with chilling clarity. The night of Naruto's birth was no longer just a danger to his parents. It was a danger to him, too. But this time, he would be ready. Kaito's sigh went unnoticed amidst the warm laughter that filled the room. Minato and Kushina were glowing with joy, and Jiraiya, despite trying to hide behind bravado, looked genuinely touched. For a boy so young, the pain he endured was unimaginable. The pain he would continue to face, even more so. And in a cradle beside Kaito's bedside, baby Naruto slept soundly, wrapped in warm blankets. His tiny chest rose and fell steadily, blissfully ignorant of the tragedy that had unfolded. The faint marking of the 8 trigrams seal glowed softly beneath his swaddling cloth, pulsing like a heartbeat. The nurse stepped closer, brushing Naruto's cheek with the back of her finger. "You've lost so much, and you don't even know it yet," she whispered sadly. As she turned to leave, she paused, glancing between the 3 Uzumaki. Kushina, Kaito, Naruto. The pieces of a broken family trying to survive the aftermath of fate. A feast worthy of the great Toad Sage. Kushina shot him a glare sharp enough to slice through a boulder. "One plate of food. No more. And no peeking while I cook, you know," she scolded. Jiraiya froze. Minato laughed behind his hand. Kaito smirked. Kushina's wrath was universal. Jiraiya leaned toward Minato. "How do you survive living with a woman like that?" Minato straightened up instantly and whispered back, "Because I enjoy living." Jiraiya snorted as Kaito choked on air. Once the meal was served, the energy in the room mellowed into something warm and familial. Even Jiraiya, self-proclaimed man of culture, ate quietly for a moment, savoring Kushina's cooking. "Kaito," he said suddenly, chopsticks paused mid-air, "I haven't had a chance to talk to you properly." Kaito glanced up warily. "I heard," Jiraiya continued, "that you're training hard. And that your chakra control is Uzumaki-level frightening." Minato nodded proudly. His already learned smokeless shunshin. Jiraiya whistled. "At 5? Damn. You're a prodigy." Kaito blinked, startled. Praise from Jiraiya felt strange. "But," the Sannin added, leaning in, "don't rush. Power that grows too fast can twist you. Seen it too many times." For a second, a fraction of a second, Kaito saw something in Jiraiya's eyes. Regret. Jiraiya swallowed. "That's a big thing to ask, kid." Kaito didn't blink. Even bigger than writing a book. Or chasing girls. A vein popped on Kushina's forehead. Minato coughed violently to hide a laugh. Jiraiya sputtered. "Hey, what do you know about?" "Enough," Kaito replied firmly. "Enough to know Naruto deserves better." The silence that followed was heavier, deeper, important. Then, Jiraiya's smile faded, replaced by a small, tired one. "You're right," he murmured. "You're absolutely right." He looked down at the table, fingers tightening around his chopsticks. "I failed Minato as a teacher. Failed Nagato. Failed Yahiko. Failed so many people. I don't want to fail anyone else." Minato's eyes softened with gratitude. Jiraiya exhaled shakily. "I'll do better. For Naruto. And for you too." Kaito felt something loosen inside him. Maybe, this time, things could be different. Once Kushina went to rest, Minato, Jiraiya, and Kaito remained in the living room. Jiraiya's demeanor changed instantly, Sannin mode activated. He reached into his pouch and pulled out a scroll glowing with powerful chakra signatures. "Kaito." His voice was grave. "There's something you should know." Minato straightened. "Sensei." Jiraiya's eyes narrowed. "Someone has been sneaking around Konoha's borders. An unknown entity. My spy network caught glimpses, but the descriptions don't match any known shinobi." Kaito's heart dropped. "And I'm proud of you." Kaito's throat tightened. "But understand this," Minato's voice dropped, filled with a quiet strength only Hokage possessed. "Your mother and I are not fragile. We are your parents. It is our job to protect you." Kaito's heart ached painfully. "But Chusan, I can help." "I know." Minato smiled gently. "And you will. But when the time comes, don't act alone. Promise me." Kaito hesitated. "I promise." Minato pulled him into a hug. "We'll face whatever comes. Together." As Kaito lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling, his mind churned. Jiraiya was back. Zetsu was watching. Naruto's birth was nearing. And the masked man, Obito, was getting closer. But this time, Naruto wouldn't be alone. Kushina wouldn't be helpless. Minato wouldn't be caught off guard. And Kaito Uzumaki was no longer the child destiny overlooked. He was the variable. The change. The storm the enemy never anticipated. He smiled faintly. "Come then, Obito. This time, I'm waiting for you." Jiraiya's grin split his face like a cracked shell, half pride, half pure mischief. He leaned back, letting the afternoon sun wash over his broad shoulders as he watched the 5 shuriken disappear into the wood with a satisfying thunk. "Not bad at all," he said, clapping once. "You got it on the first try. Most genin stumble over the hand signs for weeks." Kaito wiped the sweat from his brow and let himself smile. "It uses a lot of chakra, but I thought I could do it." "You did," Jiraiya agreed. "But don't make the mistake of thinking that more jutsu means more power. Technique without wisdom is a quick way to get yourself killed. Learn its limits. Learn how much you can expend and what you can sacrifice to pull something off." Kaito nodded earnestly. He'd heard similar lectures from Minato and Kushina, but coming from Jiraiya the words felt heavier, like a lesson with a story tucked inside. "Hey, squirt," Jiraiya added, leaning forward and lowering his voice conspiratorially. "You want the real trick? It isn't the clone making itself." Kakashi arrived without fanfare, sliding into the clearing like a shadow with a book. He looked at Kaito, at the white-tipped hair, the clenched fists, the set jaw, and for a moment the older shinobi allowed himself a quiet, approving nod. "Ready?" he asked. Kaito's answer was only a sharp, single nod. They started with the basics: chakra flow, breathing, visualization. Kakashi watched Kaito's hands as he tried to shape water-shaped chakra between his palms. At first the chakra simply felt wrong to Kaito, solid where it should be fluid, stubborn where it should bend. The paper exercise from yesterday had been one thing, turning chakra into water was another. Your Uzumaki blood helps you recover fast, but that doesn't mean damage doesn't matter. He cocked his head. "You look like you've been doing more than normal." Kaito's face flushed. He'd meant to hide the extra training, the nights of seals and chakra drills he did while everyone slept. But he knew he couldn't fool Jiraiya's sensei instinct. "Because I need to be stronger," Kaito finally admitted. "For my family." There was no judgment in Jiraiya's expression now, only a steady, unvarnished acceptance. "Then train smart. I'll help where I can. Teach you some ways to save chakra, ways to conserve for the big moment. But you're not doing anything reckless. Promise me that." "I promise," Kaito said, and felt the promise settle like a stone into his chest, heavy, grounding. They walked back toward the village together. Jiraiya chatted lighter things, a ridiculous anecdote about toads, a bit of gossip from the Sannin network, but every now and then he slipped into something sharper, a technique tip, a tactical insight, a reminder to always check your blind spots. Minato's training philosophy bled through Jiraiya's tone too, speed and precision, but never at the expense of discipline. When they reached the Uzumaki house, the lanterns were lit and Kushina was waiting on the porch. The sight of her smiling face eased something in Kaito's chest that he couldn't quite name. It was the first time he'd felt his techniques actually obey him. Kakashi, as always, tempered his praise. "Good. But remember, versatility means using water in ways people don't expect. Don't always make it visible. Learn to hide it. Learn to use it in tandem with your clones." That word, clone, made Kaito's heart race. Once they practiced the cage bunshin alongside the water conversion. Kakashi set a simple drill: produce 3 clones, each one to form a small water ribbon and wrap it around a target, then have the real Kaito move in and finish the technique with a single shuriken. The first attempt left 2 clones exhausted and the real Kaito puffing, panting, the shuriken falling harmlessly short. That night, after Naruto had been fed and settled, Kushina sat Kaito down. The lamplight made small shadows across her face. The wounds beneath her clothing were healing, but the pain lingered. Her fingers, still a little shaky, found his. "Kaito," she said, voice very soft. "Do you ever regret telling us?" He blinked. The question was unexpected. He had rehearsed so many confessions and fears in the dark, but not this. "No," he said quickly. "If I hadn't, maybe Mom wouldn't be here." Kushina's smile was fierce and aching. "Your honesty saved us. But you must also learn to live for yourself, not only for revenge. The two can coexist, but don't let hatred hollow you." Kaito swallowed. His clones became efficient assistants, one for chores, two for practice, one for watching Naruto while the others trained. Word of his progress drifted through the village like gossip on wind. Itachi, when he heard, smirked in that small way he had and offered a sparring session. Hotaru Hyuga visited from time to time, shy and distant but improving her taijutsu under Kaito's encouragement. And in the corners of the village where men in dark cloaks met behind closed doors, plans shifted. Danzo watched reports come in, eyes and theories circled like crows. Hiruzen listened, weighed, and worried. And that wraps up today's episode of What If Naruto Had a Big Brother. Kaito's journey is only getting more intense, and the future of the ninja world is changing with every step he takes. If you enjoyed this episode and want to see what happens next, make sure to hit that like button, share the video with other Naruto fans, and subscribe to the channel so you never miss an update. Drop your theories in the comments. I love reading them. See you in the next episode.